Well, as we just heard from David Brill, in Ireland right now, Catholics are worried that paradoxically for that bastion of Catholicism, they're running out of priests. But here in Australia this week, notwithstanding some pretty robust office and pub talk about whether or not Sydney's taxpayer-funded World Youth Day should be more honestly called World Catholic Youth Day, they're on something of a religious and public relations high. As we speak, Pope Benedict XVI is resting up. But earlier this evening, another not-so-youthful pilgrim, Cardinal Wilfrid Napier from South Africa, joined us here in the studio. Cardinal, thanks very much for joining us, because we realise it was a last-minute call for you. Could you help us clear up one World Youth Day conundrum that's around the pubs and the offices and dining rooms, I suspect, of this country? Why is it called World Youth Day rather than World Catholic Youth Day? Is on the minds of a lot of people, including taxpayers, who've put their hand in their pocket for this amazing spectacle.
I think when Pope John Paul II called the first one, he just had in mind to call the youth. He obviously meant the Catholic youth. Yeah. And just called it World Youth Day, and it doesn't seem to have changed since then. But
I wonder, it's as a matter of integrity, why it shouldn't be called World Catholic Youth Day. It is a World Catholic Youth Day.
I think it's because mostly when we talk about events that are on a world level for the Catholic Church, it's understood. Catholic is understood.
So it was an understanding. It wasn't.
I think it would be.
It wasn't that the Catholic Church didn't think that the Jewish youth or
no other youth. No, I don't
Protestant
think so.
youth really mattered.
No. And I think they're actually very welcome to join and be part of the Youth Day.
To what extent, and this may seem like a cynical question, it's not. It's a genuine question. To what extent is the purpose, if you like, the motivation for World Youth Day, a public relations exercise, a marketing exercise to get the church out there? Because it's certainly taken over the media in this country the last few days.
I would think that wouldn't be the correct judgment to make. First of all, because I think what I hear from the youth, the great thing about being about Youth Day is that it gets the world youth together. People who would never meet young people of another generation, of another country, have this opportunity not only to meet with them, but to hear their stories about their faith, exchange ideas, their practice, how things go in their country, and then to show how they practice their faith. That's been one of the great features that I've come across.
Right, but going back to what I was getting at before, would it be useful to the globe, to the planet, to the human race, if you like, at the moment where there's so much conflict and so much difference, so much division, on occasions, because of religious differences, for the Church to take the initiative, the Vatican even to take the initiative and say, well, why don't we get world youth together, including Muslims, Jews, Protestants, Hindus, the Brotherhood of Left-Handed Electricians, anybody who's got a faith. I mean, wouldn't that be a contribution that the Catholic Church could make to the whole, if you like, human condition, to get people of different faiths and beliefs together?
George, I think your question is a good proposal to put forward when one gets the opportunity to meet with, say, the cardinals and the Pope and so on, to put that forward. But I don't think that idea has actually come to anyone's mind. But I don't think anyone has actually thought of how that would be done. Who would call it? Who would organize it? And who would be the convener?
Who would be so arrogant to say, I'm the one that's going to call it?
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
But I mean, it is, if you like, ecumenism or ecumenicalism, right? Is that still on the agenda? I mean, we hear a lot about interfaith dialogue, but when there are significant theological and other differences between the faiths, the religions of the world, is it really possible, or is that really cloud cuckoo land stuff?
I'm glad you asked that question, because for the last 2 years I've been involved at the local provincial level in the province of KwaZulu-Natal on precisely an exercise like this. It arose from an invitation by the Premier of the province to the religious leaders, come together, we want to enter into a partnership with you, government and the religious communities, to address the various issues, social, economic, and in particular the health one, HIV and AIDS.
You mentioned HIV/AIDS. Could I ask a question? I was just looking at stuff about yourself before you came here. Is it true, as was suggested here, that you're known for your determined opposition to the use of condoms to prevent HIV/AIDS?
Yes. Can I explain the reason for that?
Well, you can certainly try, because to me as a non-Catholic, it seems almost a contradiction in loving terms.
Can I talk to you on the level of practice before we even get into the level of morality? The only country I would go as far as to say the only country in the world that has turned around an HIV prevalence rate of 29% and brought it down to 6% in the matter of 10 years has been Uganda. And the program in Uganda was behavior change. Mm-hmm. And they developed that ABC method. A standing for abstinence, B for be faithful, and C for use of condoms. Mm-hmm. The use of condoms in the case of Uganda was for a married couple or an established couple, a long-standing couple, who were discordant. One was HIV positive, the other one negative. And the condom was therefore only used within the context of a stable union.
Right.
The other things, the two other aspects were if you're not married, abstain from sex until you're married. If you are married, be faithful to your partner.
Do you think that it'd be that simple to change behaviour in South Africa, where probably the highest incidence of HIV/AIDS in the world, people dying on a regular basis because they don't use condoms?
No. That's the country with the highest distribution rate of condoms is South Africa. And the opposite result is happening.
But you believe that having higher use again would not prevent the problem, or at least reduce the problem? Do you think the death rate is okay the way it is?
No, but I don't think the death rate is because people they're not using the condom, and yet it's available. You expect that because people are hearing from bishops, you must use a condom, they're going to do what the bishops say? We've already been preaching all our lives, don't have sex outside of marriage. And now all of a sudden...
Even sex, I mean, sex without HIV being part of the equation is a totally different thing, isn't it?
I don't know. There's always been sexually transmitted diseases and all that.
But not like this.
There haven't been, yeah. Mm. But, you know, my question to you is, do you follow an example that's failed, or do you follow an example that has succeeded?
It does sound a little bit like, coming from a high-placed Catholic like yourself, blind faith. Blind faith in the belief about condoms.
No, I think it's blind faith in the ability of human beings to take control of their lives. At the moment, if you go on a policy of condom distribution as the only solution to HIV and AIDS, you're telling people that they cannot take control of their lives. And therefore, I think you're doing them an injustice by saying, you are so stupid, you cannot even though this disease is a killer, you cannot take control of your lives.
I'd like to put to you one thing that Archbishop Pell said earlier in that week, which came as a shock to a lot of people, knowing how committed the Catholic Church is in the fight against poverty. Right? Mm. When he suggested that there were not enough babies. We need more babies in the Western world. That came as a shock to us. It seems like a contradiction in just about everything.
I think
at a time when we're having food shortages, we know overpopulation is a huge problem, but he was advocating more, not less. A higher, if you like, not a lower birth rate.
Can you look at the practical situation in countries like Belgium, Germany, France, where you've got an aging population? All the other countries in the world, certainly the third world.
So you agree with him, basically?
What I'm saying is, how does a country continue doing what it's doing if it doesn't have younger blood coming into the system?
In terms of this food shortage in the world at the moment, you can see why some people would see that as a contradiction in terms. A clergy as highly placed as Archbishop Pell calling for more babies, not a lower population. But
are we sure that there's actually a food shortage?
It's pretty sure there is, yes.
I thought there was a food surplus in the wrong places.
There's plenty of evidence to suggest the contrary. Riots in various countries of the world because there's such a food shortage.
And in France and in the European Union countries where they're dumping food because the prices are down.
That is another story.
But the food shortage is in countries where they're not producing enough. In countries where they're producing more than enough, they're paid subsidies to produce, and that food is dumped then.
Cardinal,
I think it's a real...
It is a complicated...
The globalization, Pope John Paul used this expression, let's globalize solidarity, and then we solve a lot of our problems, and that's what he had in mind.
Cardinal, thank you very much for your time.
Okay, thank you very much. God bless.
Cardinal Wilfrid Fox Napier from South Africa, a bit like a Theology 1 tutorial, wasn't it? Coming up, the battle for the Amazon, where local communities are trying to stop the logging of ancient forests.
Então, só fica realmente nada, né? Eles acabam destruindo